9:16 here on the morning show with Jeff and Will on AM 1700 WRCR, Haverstraw, WRCR.com. Welcome back, everyone, and we welcome in, as we do at this time every Monday morning. It is Tina Traster of RCBizJournal.com. Welcome, Tina. How are you?
Oh, good morning. I bring news that I know you want to talk about.
As you do every Monday.
As we do every Monday. On Friday afternoon, a really significant decision came down from the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in Manhattan. We published it about 5 hours later on Friday evening, and I am here to talk about a decision that is a significant blow to the town of Clarkstown. This involves the attempt by a yeshiva to purchase the Grace Baptist Church many years ago. And the town, I guess the circuit court has pretty much said that Clarkstown interfered and discriminated against this Orthodox school. Let me unpack this for you. I know you wanted to hear from the supervisor this morning, and he was a no-show. But here's what we know. For Clarkstown had thought that it had dodged a bullet earlier this year when the federal district court dismissed the RLUIPA suit filed against it by the girls' yeshiva that was under contract to buy the Grace Baptist Church in Nanuet. Now, unfortunately for the town and for Homan and for Clarkstown, for Coupon, Citizens United to Protect Our Neighborhoods, and for Clarkstown taxpayers, an appeals court, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, reversed the district court and reinstated the $10 million RLUIPA suit. Get your head around that number, because ultimately, in defeat, Clarkstown will be on the hook for $10 million. I guess that's the town is looking at a bond or something to cope with that. Anyway, RLUIPA, as the good listeners of Rockland County know, is a federal law that sometimes tips the scales in land use decisions in favor of religious organizations. And in addition to RLUIPA, and this is really important, and we break this down in our story. The yeshiva also sued both the town and Coupon, saying that they both wrongly interfered with its contract, something called tortious interference, to buy the Grace Baptist Church, which they had intended to use as a girls' yeshiva. So here's what basically happened. In and around 2018-2019, Teres Bias Yaakov Academy of Rockland was under contract to buy the Grace Baptist Church in Nanuet for $4.3 million. And as the church had been operating a school there for many years with about 50 classrooms on site, and even though it's zoned R10 residential, the church and the school operation predated the zoning code, and it was basically grandfathered as a pre-existing non-conforming use. So the yeshiva had previously secured bond financing through an arm of the IDA on another location and asked to have the financing transferred to the Grace site, which really only required a public hearing to complete. And according to the lawsuit, when the town and Coupon got wind of the yeshiva's plans, they essentially, what's alleged, is they worked together to thwart those plans, tie up the financing, deny them a permit, and get the Grace Baptist Church to void the contract with the yeshiva. And that's the tortious interference part. So this is all according to the complaint. What they basically said was that in public meetings over a few months, George Homan outwardly opposed the yeshiva plan. At a town board meeting, George Homan announced that the town would, quote, strongly enforce applicable zoning and building code regulations, and that, quote, all of our building codes will be followed, and that he would issue search warrants if necessary. I don't know what that was about. Search warrants? I mean, I don't know what that was about. It sounds like bluster. He allegedly urged Coupon members to contact the IDA, bad move, and their county legislators to oppose the acquisition, and apparently even announced a decision of the building inspector to deny the yeshiva a building permit before the building inspector announced it. And it got worse from there. The complaint then says that the town put up obstacle after obstacle to prevent it from the yeshiva from closing on the property, including asking for surveys that were not required and refusing to have the matter heard by the Zoning Board of Appeals, even though five requests had been sent. And then while it was under contract with the yeshiva, Homan announced that the town wanted to buy the property. And this is not the first instance where I guess Clarkstown has parachuted in to buy something for what? I don't know. So eventually the yeshiva's financing fell through. The Grace terminated the contract, and a few months later, the town, in fact, did buy the property, which, by the way, has been sitting idle since the town bought it. So that's 4 or 5 years. Although recently the town did get a $450,000 grant to knock down the building. Now, I don't know where that's going to all fit in with this new ruling, but put a pin in that. So anyway, the yeshiva sued, but the district court basically said that the yeshiva had no standing to sue because the Clarkstown Zoning Board of Appeals never issued a final decision on its application. Actually, they never heard the application at all. So the district court also said that the town couldn't be held responsible for Coupon's actions and dismissed the court counts for wrongful interference against the town. But as we know now, on Friday, the appeals court, the higher court, disagreed, and it said that the ZBA was never going to rule on the yeshiva's application, and that the ZBA essentially said so after 5 requests for a hearing, that its refusal to give the yeshiva a hearing was the same as a denial for standing purposes. And the appeals court also said that there were adequate allegations of Homan and Coupon working together to derail the contract to hold the town liable for wrongful interference along with Coupon. So now the court's been remanded back to the district court, and presumably there will either be a settlement or a trial. If there's a settlement, big dollars. I mean, I'm guessing in the $10 million range. Hard to even get our minds around that. In damages and legal fees and costs to the town. The town's going to have to pay probably just millions. Now, if it goes to trial and the town loses, they'll probably be on the hook for even more. So what is the lesson here? Okay. The town, the town has to implement its land policies with integrity. Towns can think that they can cleverly do things behind the scenes and that there will never be consequences, but this case seems to show otherwise. They can't put their thumb on the scales and pervert the process. I mean, there has to be a fair process, and that's not to say that had there been a fair process, perhaps the yeshiva might have been denied its application by the Zoning Board of Appeals. But by interfering and manipulating behind the scenes, the town has set itself up for this very precipitous fall. Town officials and lawyers who have no role in planning, zoning, or land decisions need to stay out of them. And we were talking about that just last week, in fact, on a different application. The town cannot go around urging outside groups to interfere with contracts or put itself up as the potential buyer, every time it presumably wins some political points to resolve a perceived problem in town. When the town said that it wanted to buy the property, the Grace Baptist Church clearly took comfort in canceling the yeshiva's contract. And Grace probably would have continued to work with the yeshiva and extend the closing, but for Clarkstown's declaration that it wanted the property. We're also dealing with the Rockland Country Day School, another large property that's now, again, kind of in the heart of controversy over what to do, what to go forward with that piece of property. But, towns cannot always, I guess, buy their way out of what is, perceived as a problem that is not overtly talked about. It's really just a mess of incompetence. It's not Clarkstown's I mean, just more recently, we've dealt with the whole term limits issue and all of the legal wranglings and everything that has cost the town. And this is going to end up, costing millions of dollars. I mean, in a sense, it's really, I guess they couldn't see it at the time, but it's really a self-inflicted wound by an administration that keeps inserting itself whenever seemingly a large parcel of land comes on the market, and they're trying to, I don't know, satisfy a constituency that somehow they can control things in the future.
I guess it doesn't help that the Baptist Church, like you said, still sits idle to this day, having done nothing with it.
It's crazy. It's the same thing with the country day school site. It's been 5 years? Yeah, 5 years, going on 6. I know that for the longest of time, all they've tried to do is get a grant for demolition. They originally tried to get a $1 million grant from the state. I think more recently they did get one for about $450,000. There's no set plan there. There's no. I've heard whispers of more senior housing, which is also but that area is a dense use, and it's close to the TOD that also, I might add, sits idle. That area calls for use. It's dense. It's already built. It's not open space. It's not R160. So that's a little bit different than the Rockland Country Day School. But the bottom line is, I think the word hubris comes to my mind when I think back on the way this went down. I mean, it's you play with fire and you get burned, and it's basically it's the taxpayers of Clarkstown that are going to bear the brunt of this mistake.
We appreciate your time as always. We'll see where this. We haven't heard the last of this, I am sure, but we'll see how it unfolds. And we know that rcbizjournal.com will be covering it top to bottom. Thank you so much, Tina, for joining us as always. We'll talk to you again on Monday.
All right. Have a great week.
Bye.